On October 9, 2017, in the Seminole Heights neighborhood of Tampa, Florida, the body of 22-year-old Benjamin Mitchell was found at a bus stop. Mitchell was waiting for the bus, a block away from his home, on his way to see his girlfriend when he had been shot. Witnesses in the area claimed to have seen a man running away from the area, looked to be in his early 20s, and wearing a dark hooded jacket. Surveillance video showed the person of interest walking in the area Mitchell was killed, and then running from the area after the murder occurred. On Friday, October 13th, 32-year-old Monica Hoffa's body was found in a vacant lot on East New Orleans Avenue at 9:30 a.m. Her location was within a half mile from where Mitchell had been murdered. She was walking to a friend's home between the evenings of October 11th and the 12th when she was shot. Two witnesses in the area claimed that they had heard the gunshots 2 nights before Hoffa was discovered. There was no immediate connection between Mitchell and Hoffa, and both were not known to live a lifestyle that would have put them in harm's way. On October 20th, 20-year-old Anthony Niboa's body was found on a sidewalk on North 15th Street, near where Mitchell lived and within a mile of where Mitchell and Hoffa were found. Officers who had been patrolling the area heard gunshots around 8 p.m. and found Niboa shortly after. Niboa had just gotten off of work and had originally been assumed to have mistakenly taken the wrong bus, but was later said that his original route was shut down and he was taking an alternative route. He was heading towards a Route 9 bus stop when he was shot. He was diagnosed with autism and was a recent graduate of Middleton High School. Family members stated that he aimed to become more independent and worked a job packaging hurricane relief supplies. The final victim, Ronald Felton, was found on November 14th. The 60-year-old man was crossing North Nebraska Avenue around 5 a.m. when the suspect approached and fatally shot him. Felton was on his way to the New Seasons Apostolic Ministries to prepare food for distribution to families in need. He was only a few blocks away from a memorial for the previous 3 victims. A witness was able to provide a more detailed description of the suspect. He was a black man between 6 foot and 6'2". He had a thin build and light complexion. He was carrying a large black pistol and dressed in all black clothing. The serial killings came to an end on November 18th. An employee of an Ybor City McDonald's, about 4 miles south of Seminole Heights, had come into the store and handed a bag to their manager to hold on to. This employee was Howell Donaldson III. He left the restaurant to get a loan from an Amscot, and while away, the manager alerted an officer within the McDonald's that the bag contained a loaded pistol. Backup was called, and the officer took Donaldson into custody when he returned to the restaurant. Donaldson consented to a search of his vehicle, where stained, possibly by blood, clothes were found that fit the description of the clothes the suspect was wearing in the surveillance videos and reported by witnesses. His cell phone records were reviewed and found phone activity that matched the date, time, and location provided in the surveillance footage. On November 28th, detectives interrogated Donaldson for several hours. Starting with light conversation about his background, they shifted the direction by presenting Donaldson with GPS coordinates, placing him at the murders. Donaldson claimed he wasn't familiar with Seminole Heights, and that he'd only handed the gun to his manager to keep it away from his younger brother. The detectives warned him that they would be able to match the gun to the bullet casings found at the crime scenes and asked him why he did this. Remaining soft-spoken, Donaldson asked for an attorney, and the interrogation was ended. Howell Donaldson III graduated from Alonzo High School in Tampa in 2011. Classmates described him as well-liked, social, humble, and had a love of sports. Driven by his love of basketball, he played guard on the varsity basketball team and became a walk-on student athlete for the men's basketball team of St. John's University in New York City during the 2011-2012 year, though never playing in a game. According to his Facebook page, Donaldson majored in computer science with a minor in sports management. On his LinkedIn page, he believed himself to be a natural-born leader with the goal of a career in sports environments. Early in the 2017 year, Donaldson worked at Ultimate Medical Academy in Tampa as a classroom support specialist. He had been fired from UMA due to absenteeism. He went on to give private athletic coaching to students that attended Trinity School for Children in Tampa, which was attended by his younger brother. At the time of the murders, he worked as a crew leader at the McDonald's in Ybor City, in which he was eventually arrested at. It was believed that the Donaldson family was very close-knit. His parents were owners of the Sheer Excellent Hair Academy in Tampa. There were never any outward signs of family trouble, and most people remember Donaldson as being polite and quiet growing up. Before the murder spree took place, Donaldson reached out to his ex-girlfriend, Nicole Minnis, taking her by surprise. Minnis found it strange that he contacted her as opposed to his close friends. He showed up to her house with all of his belongings in tow and asked to stay with her for the day and the night. He had shown up in his McDonald's uniform, which seemed odd to her considering his college degree. He claimed that he was trying to get back on his feet and was dealing with some difficulties. He refused to talk to his friends and wouldn't communicate with his parents or family. Minnis, knowing that he had been close to his family, pressed to see what happened, as she didn't believe that they would kick him out. Donaldson responded that he couldn't be in that environment. After staying the night, Donaldson asked to stay longer. On November 13th, he left a note thanking them for allowing him to stay and asked to stay 2 more nights. He took all of his belongings with him, assumed to be in case he couldn't stay. He was allowed to stay for just those 2 extra days. During this time, Donaldson's family started contacting Minnis to see if she had seen him. Donaldson's sister had just given birth, and he never came to see her since. Donaldson told Minnis not to respond to them and not to tell them where he was. Minnis ended up responding that he was with her, and they agreed to not tell Donaldson about their conversation. Minnis urged Donaldson to contact his family and to see his nephew, but he responded that he wasn't ready to go back there yet and didn't want to be in that environment. On November 13th, around 8:30 p.m., Donaldson went to bed early. Minnis recalled hearing her dog barking in the middle of the night and assumed Donaldson had left. Minnis's mother, who shared the house with Minnis, got up to see the door unlocked, locked it, and went back to bed. Early in the morning, the doorbell rang with Donaldson returning back to the house. Minnis remembers it being around 5 a.m. in the morning of the 14th, about 10 minutes after Ronald Velton was shot and killed. When Minnis asked Donaldson about where he had been, he claimed he thought he had to work and went in to check his schedule. Donaldson left the morning of November 16th, and when Minnis followed up 2 days later, he stated that he was staying with friends. Shortly after, Minnis saw that Donaldson had posted a Snapchat video story of him with his family on Thanksgiving. That was the last communication she saw from him. Investigators asked if she had seen the videos of the suspect. Asked about her thoughts on the video, her response was, "I think it's him." When Donaldson was arrested, Minnis rushed home to find her mother watching the news. Her mother was upset that they were put into a dangerous situation. Minnis called Donaldson's sister, and she claimed that he was flying out to New York, and his mother was buying him the ticket back. Donaldson's sister said she'd call back after speaking with her parents, but never did. Investigators asked Minnis if he had any history with firearms, and she responded that she never knew him to be a gun guy and was mostly only interested in sports. She also stated that he was a religious person, as his family had also been religious. In April of 2019, while awaiting trial, Prosecutors released recordings of a video call and a jailhouse phone call between Donaldson and his parents. In the recordings, he claimed, "They're in here killing me. I'm surprised I'm still here, honestly." He claimed that he is miserable and that the jail staff was manipulating him. He requested to be switched to a different housing unit but wasn't moved. He never stated who was behind his mistreatment by name. Donaldson said the staff had been talking about rehabilitation and helping with his problems when he first arrived, but instead had been throwing what he's been accused of in his face. He stated that being in jail was physically weakening him and that he's in pain every day. During a routine court appearance, he told the judge in his case that he was becoming physically ill and was ordered a medical evaluation. There are hundreds of witnesses and a large amount of evidence, including more jailhouse recordings, although it is unclear if Donaldson has discussed the crimes in any of them. Due to the large volume of evidence to sort through, it may be numerous years before Donaldson officially goes to trial. Despite speaking to investigators, his motive for the murder spree still remains unknown. No mental evaluations have been released, and his background has given little light to why he may have committed these killings.